Well, hello. Hi. I thought I'd make a video just to show you how I am French polishing this guitar. I'm using Tom Bill's method of French polishing, and so here's my setup. I have a piece of carpet underneath and some towel on top of the carpet. I have a piece of paper towel here, and that's for me to hold the guitar so I don't get my fingerprints on it. I have a doubled up piece of paper towel here. That's to blot the pad on as I'm charging it, after I've charged it. This will be the 20th, I think the 20th session on this guitar. It's about the 7th session after I did the first level sanding, which was after 12 or 13 sessions, I think. And from, I don't know, I forget, a few sessions, you start using shellac with a few drops of walnut oil mixed in with the shellac. And this is a 2-pound cut, medium dark blonde, with a few drops of walnut oil in it. And you can kind of probably see, I don't know if you can see the walnut oil drops on the bottom. And I'll just shake it up to mix it again. What the walnut oil does is it actually polymerizes in the shellac finish and makes it more flexible, but also later it makes it more like a harder finish and more protective against the effects of sweat and things like that. But anyway, it makes for a more durable finish, and so I just mix it up like that. I have a bottle of alcohol, Everclear, pure grain alcohol, and then olive oil. And I keep my pads in here to keep them moist. And so here's the pad I've been using, and basically all it is, it's a piece of cheesecloth that you kind of fold into a point, and then it makes a nice kind of diamond shape. And I have these t-shirt pieces, which I actually got a bag of them at Orchard Supply, and they're just the right type of fabric that seems to work for me. And so I just wrap the cheesecloth in the t-shirt square and kind of pat it to kind of form it. And this has worked really well. And so here I go. So what I do, usually I start with the back, and so I've shaken up my walnut oil shellac mixture, and I put just a glob of the shellac and then another glob of the alcohol on there, and then I pretty much blot it all out till it's pretty dry on the paper towel. And then I put just the tiniest drop of olive oil for lubrication. Pat it some more, pat it on my hand, and that kind of disperses it in the pad, and I make sure that way also that it's not too wet. And then I take my paper towel, and I usually start at the lower bout, and I just do tiny circles overlapping That's what I start with. Whatever direction, sometimes I go up and down rows, followed by, and about a section about that small. And then I go the other way, pressing really hard by now. And just kind of burnishing that finish into the surface. I've even started to get the hang of doing figure eights. At first I felt really awkward doing the figure eights, so you're going in all different directions, which is probably good for getting the finish better into the pores. But now I kind of have a feel for how to do the figure eights without me feeling really awkward about it. I just keep going over and over. Very careful about when I'm doing the edges. I'm trying to always have the front point of the pad pointed towards the edge, so I don't accidentally, fall off the edge and maybe damage the side. Okay, and then what I do is worked for me. I don't know if other people do this, but right away what I do is I do strokes this way to get rid of the swirl marks and to kind of burnish the surface even more. And so the section I've just done, and I'm pressing really hard, and when you press really hard and do this, the swirl marks go away and the finish gets nice and smooth. And I don't know why I started doing it this way, because not too many videos that I've seen actually do this right away. They do a spiriting off later, which I also do, but as I'm going along, I find this just has helped my surface to be really smooth all along. Okay, so I've done pretty much that much. So I take another glob of shellac, another glob of alcohol. Sometimes I do more alcohol now. So I have a drier pad with less shellac. And I try to use less and less oil. Pat it on my hand and take my cloth again and do the middle section. Same way. In fact, I'll probably just do this whole lower bounce section, the rest of it. And the figure eights. Feeling less awkward about doing those figure eights. Basically, it's just kind of so you have different directions that you're rubbing the finish in. But pressing really hard, and it's really, these muscles here, it's quite a workout actually. And when I'm doing this, I'm pressing really hard too. I want to just kind of press out all those swirl marks and really get a good burnishing of the surface. And I'm being careful, very careful, never to stop the pad on the surface. And even when I'm just doing this, kind of just kind of moving onto the surface lightly and off the surface. So it's never in one spot. So it's kind of seems like I'm hitting the surface, but I'm really not. Just concentrating on never stopping. And going over the surface that I had before, this first section, doesn't hurt to do it more and more. And then when after I've done a section and this is really dry, then I go and just hit the corners. Okay, so I've done this much, pretty much. Charge up the pad again, blot it out. Tiny drop of olive oil, rub it in. Blot it some more, hit it on my hand, and work on this section here. So I kind of overlap where I started on the last section. So I'm pressing pretty hard. Moving fairly quickly with the overlapping circles, and then I'll do some figure eights again. It really kind of cramps up my hand to work some muscles in my hand because I'm gripping this pad really solidly. But as you're doing it, you can see the alcohol evaporating, and you can tell that the pad's getting drier and drier as you go along because you see less and less of that alcohol flashing off. My arm's really hurting right now. I don't know if you can see the flashing off in the camera, but now I feel like I'm ready to do this again. And I do go over that section I already went over to kind of blend everything that I've done so far together. I really don't want any marks where I can tell where I've started and stopped, because that just makes it harder later to level out. Not super hard, but the smoother I can get it now as I go along, the easier it will be later when I do the smooth sanding. Oops. Kind of hit the side there. And as I'm doing this, these straight strokes, I am overlapping the straight strokes. The goal being to kind of meld everything together, and then once again I hit the edges. That's looking pretty good. Okay, now I have to do this section, so I'll charge it up again. I've been doing one thing of shellac and a couple of globes of alcohol. Try to have a drier and drier pad the further I go along. Now I have this sound port right down here, so I can kind of grab it there. That makes it easier, so this section won't move while I'm doing it. So same thing. Also, how I hold the pad is kind of important, that I take care not to let my fingers, these fingernails, drift down and possibly touch the surface of the guitar as I'm pressing down here. I think I'll just do this whole section. There's plenty of shellac on the, very dry, but plenty enough to do what I need to do here. So going around the edges, my arm is really hurting right now. And going up and down. I just really enjoy this I mean, it's so hands-on. It's, even though it does make my arm sore, it's relaxing, it's fun, it's hands-on. I like that. And if I mess up, it's not really that hard to fix. And there's no cleanup. All I do is close the bottles. There's no fumes. There's no equipment like spray equipment they have to pull out and clean, and you know, it's just so easy. There's no particular timetable that you have to be on. Lately I've just been doing, say, one. Okay, I'm going to kind of smooth this top area out first, and then to blend, I don't want to mark here from where I ended and then started, and so now I'm going to go all the way across, pressing down really hard to make that all melt together. And you do the kind of jutting out curves kind of separately.